The bit I did was essentially that comedians are held to a higher standard than any other form of entertainer. Now, that's a bit of flawed logic. It's not necessarily true, but it works as a stand-up idea, because when Louis CK got in trouble for being a creepy little sex pest, he immediately went from being arguably the greatest comedian of all time. Not for me. Like, I think he's very, very good. But there was a lot of people who had him in the conversation as the GOAT. And he went from that with the same people to not funny. He went to not funny because it was like, well, he's talking about being creepy on stage and that's actually really what he's like. And it's become not a joke anymore. And I think it's quite funny that he went from not funny. It went from absolutely hilarious, one of the best ever, to not funny for wanking in front of women that he had asked, can I wank in front of you? I think he's a creep. I think what he did was weird. And I think the way he followed up by like trying to pressure them into never telling anyone about it was absolutely reprehensible and abhorrent. And we talked about this before on the podcast, and it's not okay. I'm not justifying it at all. But it's
however,
yeah. But the fact that he can go from absolute GOAT to not funny for having a wank, whereas Michael Jackson probably bummed children.
He did, didn't he?
And like, no one's bothered if a Michael Jackson song comes on at a party, are they?
Yeah.
You're still getting up for Billie Jean.
Billie Jean's a banger.
So my routine was basically like, you know what I mean? Like, he did fuck kids, but this is a fucking tune, this, mate, so let's let it slide.
Well, I made the mistake of mentioning it in my school in Japan, because I mentioned Japan again, but they're so cut off from the Western world that they don't know or care about anything like that.
They just loved his music.
Yeah, and when art's big in Japan, like music, it's massive from the Western world because there's not much gets over there. So Michael Jackson over there is huge. And he came on in school once. And I'm sitting in the lobby with about 6 students and a couple of teachers.
You just shouted nonce.
I didn't go that far. I went, oh, that's weird, isn't it? Listening to this coming on. And they all looked at me and went, why do you not like Michael Jackson? I was like, oh, I don't not like his music, but you don't really hear this anymore. And they went, why? And
okay, buckle up, everyone. There's a load of 5-year-olds like, Sensei Carl. What are you talking about?
And I just went, well, it's a bit of legal trouble in the last couple of years, wasn't it?
Oh, fucking don't stumble
like,
up.
oh, what happened? I was like, I don't know. You best Google it. I'm not really up on it. I was like, I'm not going to tell him that he shags kids since we don't listen to his music no more.
I really loved doing my routine about that because I put it right at the start of my show because it was the most offensive thing I said in a whole show, which had quite a lot of potentially offensive routines in it. And I put it there specifically so you couldn't get offended by anything else. My angle, which was far too similar to Chappelle's was essentially, it's Michael Jackson. He can do whatever he wants. And my angle, and obviously Chappelle was joking, by the way, before anyone takes that seriously. My angle was there are worse paedophiles to have been fucked by. Like, at least
what did you say? You got fucked by the goat?
Yeah. You got to fly around the world. You got to play with his monkey. It's better than in some fucking cunt who works in Greg's, isn't it?
Dave Johns used to have a bit that was about the back catalogue. You judge the paedophile by the quality of work. I used to love it. He's like Gary Glitter. Do you want to be in my gang? No, I fucking don't, Gary. which is spot on as well. I think it's a difficult one. And this is really blowing smoke up our own arse, because I think after everything that's happened on Facebook this week and the fact that we do take the piss out of a lot of stuff, probably beyond the line for a lot of people, like modern sensibility, like if you're going off sort of London, LA, New York, the sort of Twitterati who are like, well, this is not woke and this is unacceptable and these are the pronouns and you can't say that. We're probably way past that line, but I think for most normal people, there is a middle ground on it. I think there is an argument to say once you've committed these crimes, it's very difficult to be like, yeah, but it's a good song, innit?
Yeah.
The Lost Prophets.
Yeah, but that's...
Mate.
I know.
It's not. It's the same.
Them. I know.
Shit.
Yeah.
I fucking love that.
The fact that it's really interesting, actually. The fact that you went, but you can sit there and we can talk about Michael Jackson openly. That's exactly the point we're making now.
If you don't know the story with the Lost Prophet,
it does, doesn't it?
But it isn't.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I know. It's weird, isn't it?
No, I don't mind an American nonce. But I don't want British nonces.
Yeah.
Keep them out of our playgrounds. Do you
weird,
see
innit?
what I mean? Like I have that song because we when we're going nowhere, and it's a fucking banger. I've got it on a CD that one of my mates made me years ago, and I've randomly had it in my, like, you know, I had a wallet for my car CDs. This is going back like 12, 13 years. And it's
I thought you were going to say months.
12, 13 months. This is going back to March.
It's going back to lockdown 1.
And I stick the CD on sometimes. I've still got a CD player in the car. And it comes on and you're like, oh no.
Just skip it.
Because, no,
Still
yeah.
a banger.
But it's still but in your head you're like, because we're God, this guy really did try and fucking, oh my God. Like,
Rock and Roll Part 2 by Gary Glitter's an absolute stonker as well.
The most heinous thing you can do to
me, I just, for some reason, I did the boycott of Michael Jackson, Joe, and everyone did it after leaving Neverland, is it?
Yeah.
I was like, do you know what? If it comes on, I'm not going to turn it off. I won't actively go to his thing and listen to it anymore, but...
I'm not going to download it, right? I'm not going to buy it. But if I'm in fucking Asda and it comes on, I'll fucking moonwalk down the meat
Because it's still a banger, isn't it? It's still a banger, though, isn't it? And he wasn't...
Yeah, and he was a banger.
He wasn't having sex with kids in the video.
No, he wasn't.
Oh my goodness me.
Not in the radio edit, anyway.
Good point, Carl. Good point. He never recorded himself. Paedophilia is one thing, but don't do it on camera.
Do you know what? I made some people feel really uncomfortable with that routine as well, on purpose. So what I would do is I would say to someone in the room, I would ask the room, who thinks he did it? Who thinks he didn't do it? So I was like, right, if you think he did it, do you still listen to his music? And someone would go, yeah, I do. Not asked. It's amazing. It's really good stuff. And I was like, what if he'd fucked your niece? What if your niece was one of them, or a family friend's kid, or your kid? Would that change it? And then they were like, yeah, it would. And I was like, so what you're saying is musicians can fuck children as long as you personally don't know them.
Well, yeah,
that's a weird line to draw.
It's closer to home, isn't it? And you do feel more affected by it in a weird way.
But that's the bullshit person that we take the piss out of all the time. Like, I love comedy. I love comedy. But my dad had a stroke. And I hate comedy about strokes. So that's a bad comedy. I mean, I love all of the comedy. Like, that's bullshit. Yeah. Like, it's a bullshit.
No, it's hard, though, when it's fucking bangers.
I like comedy that doesn't affect me in any way. I think that's fucking... What about comedy about Warwick Davis? He's a little person.
What about actors, though?
What about if you know a little person? Well, then that's not funny. It's not funny because I know someone.
What about Kevin Spacey?
Sorry, one sec. Do you know what's really funny? Right? So... I nearly mentioned this before, but I forgot to. I just want to tell you something I said on stage last week. So I've got a joke about midgets at the minute, and one of the bits in it is that if you're offended by this, thinking my midget friends would be really upset, shut up, because you don't know any midgets. The only people who know midgets are other midgets and people rich enough to buy midgets. It's a funny line, right? Right. And a girl at the back went, actually, I know a family of midgets, right?
Is midget the word?
No,
but she was like, I said, do they like being called that? And she went, they're not arsed. They've got a great sense of humour. And I went, oh, so they're all sound? She went, yeah. And I went, how many of them is there? And she said 5. And I went, you only need 2 more for it. And I didn't even get to finish the word panto, and the audience just went with it with laughter. It was really a really nice moment of someone going, actually, and I thought it was going to be Aggie. And she's like, no, it's sound. There's 5 of them. You only need 2 more for a panto.
I know a family of midgets.
Yeah, what about
what
actors?
A strange thing for people to say.
What about actors? Can you watch Kevin Spacey stuff anymore, or any other actors who've been in?
I remember when Kevin Spacey got outed and someone tweeted a picture of a snapped Usual Suspects disc and said, fuck him. And I was like, he's already been paid for that copy. Paid him, yeah. All you've done there is deprive yourself of one of the greatest films ever made.
Well, that becomes a problem, doesn't it? Because like, there are some classic films, and I like some of the older stuff. And do you have to do like an inventory of all the crimes? And so what about cultural things that are out of order? Like racism, we're talking about the racist guy in the meet and greet, and obviously we're applying modern rules on what's allowed and what's not allowed. Not that the N-word's ever been like, it's fine, come and teach the primary school class. But like, if you go back, there's when Maradona died, there was one female footballer refused to pay his respects because he was accused of rape. She sat down it was a women's football team, and they were all doing a moment's silence, and she sat down and went, nah, fuck him. He got accused of rape, I'm not doing it. And so how far do you track back? When you're watching films from the 60s, these guys were like, there's so many instances
Sean
of like...
Connery battered women, didn't he?
John Wayne. John Wayne had all of these accusations against him. So what do? Do you just shut up shop? And I'm not saying you do or you don't. It's just an interesting argument.
You've got to draw your own line, haven't you? It's like one of the things like I said sort of privately when Louis CK got outed was like, comedians, a lot of them are fucked up. They're fucked up. And look, I'm not in any way defending what any of these horrible people have done. I'm really, really not. But they're going to do occasionally creepy or bad things, and they're going to panic and be like, how do I stop this getting out?
The thing with Louis was there wasn't criminal charges, and that's why there was a bit more debate with it.
Yeah.
Because it came on the back of Harvey Weinstein, who had used his power to rape women.
Yeah.
And Louis C.K., the news broke at the same time. It was when the Me Too movement, the wave of that was at its highest. And rightly so, fair enough. There was a lot of collateral damage from that. The reaction over here was exactly that. It was very reactionary. And I think it was in places out of proportion. There were a lot of comics who went, is it that bad? It wasn't not that the whole industry didn't turn on him and go, he's done. There was a bulk of people.
Well, when I first heard about it, my initial reaction was, don't really think he's done anything wrong. He asked women to go back to his hotel. He wanked in front of them after he'd asked them. They'd said, yeah. I feel like, and when they said no, he didn't do it. And I was like, not really sure he's done anything wrong. And then I found out that he and apparently his agent a couple of times basically bullied these women into not telling the story. Now,
and he's a very influential, famous, powerful comedian at the time. He's one of the big dogs, and he was doing this to younger women who are trying to take their first steps in a career.
Look, we don't know all of what happened, and we never will. But my understanding of it is that he did this, which is a bit creepy, but everyone's a little bit creepy at some point, I suppose. Or, well, I'd like to think I wasn't, to be fair, but I think everyone has got
it in him.
Yeah.
I think once that orange T-shirt comes off, if he was Blair in black.
Taste my joy.
These are why the secret Sundays. Try and get tickets and you'll find out what the secret is. What's Chappelle doing here? Fuck off, mate. Put your pen away.
Well, it was creepy, but not that bad. But to be like, listen, if you tell anyone that I do this, I'm a very powerful comedian and I'll make sure you don't get gigs and I'll stop your career, is bullying. And I think the fact he's outed as like a sexual predator, and I don't really think he is. I think he's a dick swinging bully.
Yeah.
And they're different things.
He's a bully and a creep.
Yeah.
But we sit here as straight male comics in a industry dominated at the working roots by straight white comics.
Yeah.
And promoters are mainly straight white blokes, slightly older, and there's a lot of women in this industry who've had to deal with these fucking creeps. Some of them have been attacked, some of them haven't, but a lot of them cite instances of being basically maybe not assaulted, maybe not to the point where it's criminal, but being leched on, being having comics try it on in a forceful way, using their position, basically bullying them to do stuff they don't want to do. And it's fair for that part of our industry to go, guys, this isn't fucking all right. We're sick of it. He became the poster boy for a lot of fucking creeps in our industry, and it's very difficult to be like, nah, I don't think he did much. You're like, it's almost like people weren't listening. Like, I know you and I didn't, like, there is a point as well where you have to step back and go, not really. At the time, I was like, I feel like we need to just listen as well and watch this play out a little bit, because the people who went hard in the paint of like, this is fucking bullshit. So you're like, but are you completely ignorant of the situation? Like, no, I don't think it's wrong. He didn't do anything wrong. He's not been convicted of a crime, so fuck that. You're like, I think there's more at
nuance.
play.
It's nuance.
You've got more responsibility than that.
I'd like to think. I remember. I'm sure I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but like, we do that all the time.
Did the Robot Wars one?
The Robot Wars. Yeah.
Did you ever work in Envy?
That's when it was. There's an American comic in New York guy called Louis J. Gomez, and I remember a tweet he put out in that second wave of the Me Too movement, and it was, I think that there is definitely creepy and even rapey people on the comedy circuit. There is, but I reckon there's more on Wall Street. Comedy's actually one of the safest industries. There's just creeps everywhere. And people on Wall Street don't give a fuck about being cancelled on Twitter. And I think that's... He put it in such a succinct way. I was like... Because I'd like to think our industry is quite safe. It needs to be safer. Absolutely. And girls need to be able to be like, he's a gobshite. He's just said this to me or he did this. And those creepy cunt promoters need to be like ousted completely. And another thing is Hot Water, my home club, gets quite a lot of shit from certain comics because they say they don't book enough women.
But now, you're muddying the fucking water there, aren't you? Like, with that argument, like, it's a separate fucking argument.
Oh, no, totally. I'm not really comparing that. What I'm saying is, like, we won't go into, like, the politics of Hot Water and, like, why they get accused of that. And, you know, they've got a very strict policy of, if you want to play this club on a weekend, you've got to come down and do gigs for free midweek so that we can see and judge whether you're ready for the weekend. And some comics are just above that and they're like, look, I don't want to come and do an unpaid tryout. You either book me or you don't. And that's sort of where that comes from. It's their policy and they've got every right to run their club exactly how they want to run it. But with the regulars at Hot Water, I'm telling you right now, if there was ever a creepy comic on that bill with a girl on and they tried to do anything, they'd be fucking battered in the green room.
Yeah.
Like, certainly the comics I surround myself with, the lads who I hang around with in comedy, if they seen any sort of creepy behaviour from a fucking rat of a comic, they'd literally get their teeth knocked out.
I hope it's better. I think it is, but I'm not in a position to be like, our industry's definitely improved. I hope it is, because I know a lot of people are working to make it better.
Yeah.
There is definitely a lot of dog shit industries that are so far behind ours, but that's not a reason to
not improve ours.
We need...
Yeah.
It's... The industry is different from when I started. When
if you're like, we're the least rapey industry. It's like, but you're still rapey.
Well, I know. Oh, listen, there has been a few rapes. Well, there's loads more rapes over there. Yeah. I tell you what else is coming, and I will enjoy it when
Bad Boys 3.
That wave breaks. When some of these fucking horrors that we know and have heard about get fucking named and shamed. The guys who
the big ones.
We are literally in no position to name.
Like
but I can't.
There's a couple with
fucking wait.
There's a couple of big name comics with super injunctions. We're not allowed to mention any names, but there's a few that you would be very, very disappointed in. Now, if it's
coming, and you can answer for it.
If we mention them here and now, the podcast will get sued, and every penny we've got we'd be fucked. But yeah, there's a couple, and it's well on its way.
And you will see me do a little fucking tubby man dance when those names come out.
Yeah.
I'm a massive fan of one of them as well.
Yeah, so fuck you, Sloss. Oh shit, I've said his name.
He's
a callback from before. It is not Daniel Sloss.
One of them
very
broke
good
my
man.
Heart.
Yeah.
My formative years were based on this person's stuff.
At least one of them didn't break your ass. Anyway.